The Outbreak Easter egg boss fight is really difficult, and after getting so many messages from viewers struggling, I want to make this boss fight as easy as possible for you, so we'll be going over the best loadouts and weapons to use in that boss fight. I'd like to think a video like this is super helpful, so if it is, let me know in the comments below. Feel free to share any other surprising weapons that are good in the comments as well, and leave a like rating for that YouTube algorithm. We'll be covering 5 specific weapons in this video that if you take in, you will guarantee a boss fight completion, and these will be the only weapons you'll need for the game. You don't want to be using a ray gun, and you don't want to be using a die shockwave. With these weapon recommendations alone, you'll complete this boss fight guaranteed, and your weapons will be outputting more damage than the ray gun. Now, it's important that your weapons are tier 3 pack-a-punched and tier 5 rarity. That alone is going to increase your damage output dramatically and turns our first weapon into a god tier weapon, and that is the M16. Since the Season 3 Reloaded update, this weapon is the best weapon in the game, doing incredible amounts of damage and guarantees a boss fight completion. And to prove it, I completed this Easter egg on solo using only the M16. It does incredible damage from a distance, it does incredible damage up close, and has a fantastic rate of fire. Now, a standard M16 that you might find randomly in game is not going to be the build you want, as there are certain attachments that will make this a god weapon, and you'll want to be saving this in a loadout. So let's jump over those attachments right now. Now, it's highly advised that you have your M16 max level, because some of these attachments you're going to need, you won't get it until you're a higher level with this weapon. So jumping to the gunsmith, these are going to be the attachments you want to use. For optic, I really like the Axle Arms 3 times. It's just enough magnification for pretty much any situation in Outbreak, be it killing zombies from a distance or bosses from a distance and order. This is a very nice magnification. But if you prefer others, then go ahead and put that on instead. For muzzle, I've gone with a Flash Guard 5.56 because it increases our equipment drop rate and doesn't affect anything, including bullet velocity, which is very important in Outbreak. Now, this is where the magic happens. In barrels, you're going to want the 20.5 Task Force barrel on. This increases our damage by 14%, our effective damage range by 50%, and bullet velocity by 50%, basically making this weapon an absolute godly weapon in the game. If you don't use the Task Force barrel, your M16 will just not put out as much damage as you see me do in this video. And if you want to guarantee easy mode, you're going to want to have this on your M16. As for body, I put on a steady aim laser to increase our hip fire accuracy, which is quite fun with this weapon. The underbarrel, I went with the bruiser grip because it has all pros, no cons. Salvo 54 round mag for the mag, airborne elastic wrap for the handle, and a Raider pad stock. Now, very important, once you've created your build, you'll want to press 1 on PC, left trigger on Xbox and PlayStation to save this as a custom mod option. Name it whatever you want and save it as a mod. What this will do is in-game, if you come across a weapon that you've saved as a mod, be it the M16 or in this example I'm showing you right here, the Hauer, I have a tier 2 rarity Hauer and I come across a tier 4 rarity. If I pick up that Hauer and then I press start, apply blueprint, and apply my custom mod that I created for the Hauer, it will now transform that into the one that has all the attachments on it that I would have in my loadout. With those combination of attachments with a tier 3 pack-a-punch, tier 5 rarity, this gun just becomes incredible for damage output. It can do over 2,000 damage per bullet hitting the Legion from a distance, and when shooting at the orbs, it does 4,250 damage per shot. If you concentrate accurate fire on one of those orbs, even in a 2 or 3 player game, you should do enough damage alone to destroy an orb. And I mean, you just see how quickly on solo one of these orbs gets destroyed. It literally takes about 3 or 4 seconds of fire. It's unbelievable how good this weapon is. If I'm doing the egg solo, I'll always run this loadout. I pair it with Frenzied Guard tier 5. And there's a few reasons for this. The first, activating it brings all my armor back. You can't simply buy more armor in this boss fight. Whilst it's active, all damage is taken from your shield and never your health, so you can't die, and it slows down all normal zombies to a walking speed, giving you all the time in the world to shoot those orbs. Now, if you don't have Frenzied Guard leveled up, I'm going to recommend some other field upgrades, so continue watching. But regardless, whatever weapon you choose to take in from this video, it's so important that you use all the zombies spawning in as your method of getting your field upgrade. You should only focus on killing the zombies and elites and protecting yourself from the Legion's attacks, to fill up that meter. Once that meter has been filled up, focus fire on the Legion, but if you have a huge horde behind you, it's best to just hip fire at the Legion. That way you aren't going to be slowed down at all. You can take out some of the annoying elites if they're getting close to you, and as soon as Legion drops, pop that field upgrade and go for those orbs. Following this strategy to deal with all the zombies that spawn in there, as well as getting the Legion's health down, you should have no problems at all. Moving on to my second weapon recommendation, which is going to be the Gallo shotgun. For the last few months in zombies, the Hauer has been the shotgun to run, but the Gallo is incredibly viable after this update. You'll be very surprised at its damage range. But let's jump into the overpowered loadout build that you'll want for the Gallo. As for the Gallo, these attachments that I've got on it, I don't run an optic. My muzzle, I have the infantry V-choke, which makes our ADS spread tighter by 67%. Barrel, again, it has to be the task force. It does 52% damage, and compared to every other barrel, which doesn't do any additional damage, this is going to be the one you want. When it comes to body, we'll ignore that. We'll do the 12-round Stanag tube mag, airborne elastic wrap, and marathon stock. And again, just save that as a custom mod. Now, especially when it comes to dealing with all the zombies and elites that spawn in this boss fight, you're definitely going to want to have an up-close weapon like a shotgun to take those out very quickly. And this paired with the M16 is a perfect loadout. When it comes to shooting the Legion's orbs with this Gallo, it can do 6,275 damage per shot. And seeing as it has a lot more ammo in its clip than the Hauer, it means you can shoot more shots without having to reload. And as you can see in this clip here, it took 14 shots for that orb to be complete, and that was in a 2-player game where the other player wasn't shooting at all. Pairing this Gallo with brain rot is really useful for taking out all of the elites in this boss fight. And when the boss moves to one of the missile silo exit doors, the area is safe for you to go up close and personal to the Legion to deal some damage up close with the Gallo if you so wish. Now, when using the Gallo in this run, I paired it with Ether Shroud tier 5, which is great because you have 2 activations of it at a time, which if you're running solo is absolutely invaluable. Definitely recommended if you're not a skilled zombies player who's confident to be running Frenzied Guard. Moving on to our third weapon, and this is going to be the classic overpowered Hauer. Now, when it comes to taking out zombies and elites, this thing is absolutely incredible. It's still one of the best weapons to use in the game, as its damage output up close is just ridiculous. But with the ammo nerf, some will favor choosing the Gallo instead. Let's quickly look at the overpowered Hauer loadout. And for the overpowered Hauer, it's not changed. We are going to have no optic, no muzzle. We're going to go for the task force barrel, which only does 15% more damage now, but I'm sure this number isn't quite correct because you might see this as a different value. Overall, this increases the damage, and that's what we want. For body, we're going to use the Ember sighting point for that increased salvage drop rate, 30% hip fire accuracy, 8-round tube mag, the serpent grip, and the marathon pad stock. So when it comes to boss fight, if you really wanted to go Hauer only, it is possible, although it is difficult and I wouldn't recommend it. When it comes to shooting the Legion's orbs, you do the exact same amount of damage as you would with the Gallo, but I think it suffers a little bit with range. As far as my testing goes, it just doesn't have quite enough range to be able to hit the Legion's chest. It is possible, however, to shoot all 3 of his orbs using the Hauer shotgun, so you can hit that far top orb if you go behind the Legion. But if you're going that up close to him, you need to make sure that he's in an area that isn't protected by his damaging gas. But it's best to pair it with our 4th weapon recommendation, and this is going to be the Rai K. Not only is it a fantastic weapon to use against zombies, and you can have a lot of fun with this by ADSing or by just hip firing when they're close, but it also does a lot of damage to the Legion in its chest, about 1300 damage per shot, depending on how far away you are from it. And because it has so much ammo, you can just continuously fire into this thing without any problems at all. It doesn't do as much damage to the orbs as, say, the shotguns do, but it's overall a very consistent weapon and the only wonder weapon I'd recommend you take in. And the last and final weapon that you can choose, which is a bit of a fun one and a bit of a surprise, and this is going to be the RPG. Now, out of the 5 weapons we've shown you in this video, the RPG does the most damage to Legion out of anything else in the game. You can get about 7,000 damage to his chest per shot, which is pretty insane, and combined combining this with Ring of Fire, your RPG can do some ridiculous damage. I don't think I'd personally recommend you run this on solo, but if you're doing a co-op game and you found an RPG that's a pretty high tier, it's definitely one to consider. And when you're shooting at the orbs, you can get about 12,000 damage per shot on the orbs with this RPG. I don't believe Ring of Fire will increase your damage per shot on these orbs, but it will allow you to shoot the RPG infinitely rather than 2 at a time. But choosing a different upgrade like Ether Shroud could equal you only need to shoot about 2 rockets into an orb with Ether Shroud to take down his orb, which is incredibly quick. And that's going to cover the weapons I would recommend for this boss. Now, there are a few other recommendations, such as the Carve 2, the Farah, the FFA, the RPD, and the Street Sweeper shotgun. But again, those will only be effective at a high weapon level with those Task Force barrels. But I wanted to recommend weapons that I know everyone has access to, and more likely than not have them ranked up to pretty high levels. Again, if you found any weapons that are really useful, let me know in the comments below. Subscribe so you can make your way back to the channel for more great videos like this. And if you love zombies merchandise, I've restocked all of my awesome zombie posters, including this double-sided Dark Ether movie poster. And if you order it now, you will get a free Samantha Max's dog tag with it. If you pick one up, feel free to let me know on Twitter so I can show you some love. Thank you as always for watching the video. If you need an Outbreak Easter egg guide, it's on your screen right now. Best of luck, and I'll see you for a future video hopefully soon.